All right, guys, we are starting a new unit. Moving on into perimeter and area, and hopefully this will be familiar to you and it won't be as confusing as what we've learned before. Um, so in our area unit, we're going to look at perimeter and area of triangles, certain types of quadrilaterals. We're going to look at area of circles. We'll look at circumference of circles, and even look at when you have multiple figures together called composite figures. But today we're going to look at the triangles and the main types of quadrilaterals that you're going to see and be asked for the area of. And we need to be able to do perimeter and area for all of those. So to remind us, let's define perimeter again and area. So perimeter is the distance around a figure. So it's all the way around when you add up all the sides. On a circle, we call it circumference, but it's essentially the same idea. When we get to circles, we'll talk about that there. The area is the space inside a figure. Okay, so it's all the space inside. Perimeter is one-dimensional, as in like feet, yards, miles, kilometers, whatever. Area is two-dimensional because it's like, for example, this is length times width. It's two different lengths, two different sides that contribute to area. It's length times width, for example. So that'd be feet squared, miles squared, kilometers squared, centimeters squared, whatever. Okay? And I'm a big stickler on getting the units right. So for perimeter, it's just regular units, and this one is units squared for area. All right, so we're going to go over briefly the formulas for all of this, the ones that have formulas. So for a rectangle, perimeter does have a formula. You know, rectangles have a length and a width. You could also see it called base and height. You could see it that way. But for perimeter, you know, you have another L over here and another W right here. So you essentially have two lengths plus two W's. W is width, two widths. So I write it like 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, just like that. And of course, area, we all know, is length times width, or LW. Right? A square is sort of just like this, except every side is the same length. So everybody is size A. So the perimeter would be like A plus A plus A plus A, or we could write it as 4 times A. And then the area is still length times width, but the length and width equal each other, so it's just going to be A squared. Okay? Now these next three, they don't necessarily have a formula for perimeter. So if you're asked for perimeter, just make sure you have every side and add up all the sides. That's essentially all you do. But they do have area formulas, so I need to give you those. The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. 1/2 times the base times the height. Now sometimes I put the multiplication dot and sometimes I don't. But just know that all of that is multiplied. 1/2 times the base times the height. Okay? A parallelogram is base times height. Base times height. There's a multiplication. Let me put them in there because some kids like to see them and some kids don't like to see it. So I'll just go ahead and put it. Let me fix that one too. 1/2 times the base times the height. And this is base times height. Sorry, I'm OCD. That was bothering me. Okay, you should know that one automatically. Triangle 1/2 base times height. This one may not be super familiar, but it sort of makes sense. It's kind of like a rectangle. Like if you took this little triangle piece and you cut it off and attached it over here, like right here, you would make another rectangle. So you would get base times height. Anyway, trapezoid might not be super familiar, but it's 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. You have to add both bases together. So it's kind of like the triangle area formula, except instead of one base, you have to add both of them together. Okay? And these formulas, guys, like especially on the ACT, you're expected to know right off the top of your head. You have to know these formulas. They are not going to give them to you. Okay? So if you don't already have these memorized, start working on getting memorized because you're going to need them memorized. Okay? Now, we're just going to work through these problems back here real quick. The first 5 are perimeter, the second 5 are area. We'll just figure them out. Now, on your homework, I want area and perimeter. You have to do both. Here, I'm just specifying which one we want, just so you can see them all separately. But on your homework, you're going to have to do both, area and perimeter. All right? So find the perimeter of the figure. This is a square. How do I know it's a square? Because 2 sides are 8.5, and it's going to force the other sides to be 8.5. So the perimeter for a square, remember, is 4 times the side length they give you. 4 times 8.5, you type that in the calculator, 34 feet. So make sure you put the units on there. And this is perimeter, so it's just feet. 34 feet. This is a rectangle, so perimeter is 2 times the length. It doesn't really matter which one you start with, plus 2 times the width. If you want to put 10.5 first over here and 3.7 over here, that's totally fine. Does not matter. You type all this into a calculator. 28.4. This would be kilometers. Okay, this is a parallelogram. Notice that on a parallelogram, remember, the opposite sides are the same. So the ones this way are the same, the ones that way are the same. So when you know all 4, you can find the other, like let me back up. They'll give you all 4, or what they might do is they'll tell you like those 3. They might tell you the pair that matches and then give you the other one. You're expected to know that you carry this 10 over here to make it 10 as well. You have to know the opposites are congruent. So in a sense, you can do perimeter of a parallelogram just like you do a rectangle. With the base, and then that's not the height necessarily, it's just another side. So for this one, I'm going to write it out like that. 2 times the 19 plus 2 times 10. And again, remember, you're probably going to see it more like this. They're going to have one pair of opposite sides marked and the other side just marked as whatever it is. You have to recognize that you bring this 10 over here as well. So you have 2 of them. Okay? You type all that in a calculator. 2 times 19 plus 2 times 10. That's going to be 58 yards all the way around. Okay? Perimeter of this triangle. Now you have the base, and then you have this side. This 16, look where it's pointing. That's the height. So we can't use that for perimeter. Now how am I going to find this other side? Well, there's a tick mark and another tick mark. And remember, tick marks mean congruent. So if this guy is 20.9, this other guy is 20.9 as well. So we have one 20.9 and another 20.9 and then the 27. And we just add all that up in a calculator and we get 68.8 centimeters. All right. so far this should be easy. Like I would think this area unit is going to be easier for you. I hope it is. All right, perimeter. Again, we have a trapezoid, and notice we have every side labeled for us. So we're just going to add them up. 7 plus 5 plus 13 plus 9. As long as you get all 4, it does not matter what order they come in. And you add all of that up, and it's going to be 34 millimeters. Just add all of that up. Now we're into area. So this is a triangle, so the area formula is going to be 1/2 base times height. So the area is going to be 1/2 times my base, which in this case is 15, times my height of 21.3. You type this into a calculator, and it ends up being 159.75. And because it's meters, it's going to be meters squared. This is area now, so it has to be units squared, okay? This is a parallelogram. See, it kind of looks like a rectangle that's kind of tilted. So it's a parallelogram. So area is base times height. What's my base? It's going to be 21 times my height of 33. And you multiply those two together, it's going to be 693 meters squared. All right. Area of this figure, it is a square. How do I know it's a square? Every side has a tick mark, which means every side is going to be 17.6. So area of a square is the side length squared. 17.6 squared, or multiplied by himself. And you multiply that, you get 309.76 millimeters squared. Alrighty then. Find the area of the figure. So this is a trapezoid now. So we use 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. So 1/2 times my height. Now the height is sometimes inside the trapezoid, but it could be outside. Just like on your triangles and parallelograms, the ones that use heights, they're usually going to be labeled like a dashed line like this. So that's an easy way to tell who's the height. So right here, it's the 32.7 times my bases added together. So 13 plus 38. You just type all this in at one time. So you get 833.85 meters squared. Okay. And then last but not least, good old rectangle, length times width. So 16.4 times 11.8. Area is going to equal 193.52 feet squared. And that's it. That's all there is. So make sure you use the correct formula. And I made sure that on your figures you had every length you need to find perimeter. Okay, you won't have to do anything special to find them. You'll have them all given to you. So your homework, I think there's 25 problems, but you have to find both perimeter and area for all figures. I want to see an area answer and I need a perimeter answer. You have to have both. If I don't see both, you're getting half credit or whatever credit you give me, okay? So as always, if you need help, just let me know.